Time now for Reporters Roundtable to put the headlines in perspective. Bud and Ross are both still with us, and joining us as always is Berna Dean Steptoe, WFAA's political producer. We'll also start with you though, and Greg Abbott already on the attack against Lupe Valdez as if Andrew White doesn't even exist. Is he getting in early on Lupe, or is he hoping to avoid a race against Andrew White?
I think the governor wants the general election conversation to be about sanctuary cities, immigration, border security, and Lupe Valdez, a former Dallas sheriff, is ideally situated for that fight. I think he'd rather skip White.
Does White, what does he need for a comeback, Bud?
Well, White needs more name ID statewide. I mean, we haven't really seen him much here in Dallas-Fort Worth. He's done most of his campaigning in Houston. You know, Democrats went and voted and didn't really, know who he was, so many of them. So, he didn't do well. He is really trying to modify his campaign now. He's come out calling for new jobs, calling for economic development, but it's a little late.
Well, I'd like to go back to Abbott and Valdez, because Abbott, to me, actually responded to her, because as soon as President Trump issued that he was going to send military or send troops to the border, then she responded, and she included Abbott in that response. And he merely, to me, just responded to her, as well as wanting to go ahead and go into the general election.
Ross, let's switch over to another issue with Ted Cruz and Beto O'Rourke. Beto had a huge fundraising haul again. Is Cruz really getting nervous about this? Is he even concerned about it?
Well, I think you got to pay attention to a guy who raises $6.7 million in 3 months from 141,000 people. This is going to be a race. It's still Ted Cruz's race to lose. It's still a red state. He's the incumbent. He's got all the advantages. But he ran an upstart campaign 6 years ago, and I think he's probably aware that upstart campaigns can sometimes win.
Jason,
but you talk about image a lot in this too.
Yeah, I'm really interested in how they're both trying to evoke Texas imagery, and particularly Cruz with his Texas Tough campaign and coming out in pickup trucks and blue jeans. And I mean, we've seen Ted Cruz, and he didn't wear blue jeans when he came in here, But here we have a Princeton graduate against a Democrat, Beto O'Rourke, who was rowing team captain at Columbia, and they're both arguing over the Texas image.
Two Ivy League candidates here. Yeah. Trying to change their image.
Trying to be cowboys.
Well, and Cruz typically does campaign in cowboy boots and blue jeans. That's his campaign attire. But I don't think he has anything to worry, although he does take any opponent seriously.
Bud, let me go back to you about tax appraisals too. They're hitting mailboxes this week. Ross and I were talking before we went on. This is the worst time of the year.
Everybody got their tax appraisals this week, and I heard so much from friends who live in North Tarrant County. Here, we've talked a lot about Fort Worth Tarrant County being one of the fastest growing counties in America in DFW. Well, everybody who lives in that fast growth around Alliance Airport, people got 15, 20, 25% tax appraisals, and they have to vote in 3 weeks on a major Fort Worth bond election with 6 proposals and on the Panther Island plan for downtown.
What does that do to it?
I wonder how they're going to feel about that bond vote.
What do you think about this, Berna Dean?
It reminds me more so of the need for tax reform, because when our appraisals, our property appraisals go up, our taxes as well. So that, and as far as the bond election, I'm not really sure that there is any kind of organized opposition, but I think that it will possibly have an effect.
Ross, let me ask you too, the legislature can change this if lawmakers replenish funding for state education. Any chance of that happening? They already have less to spend next year. Any chance of that happening?
I think it's hard to do. You'd have to put so much money in from the state standpoint to lower taxes any appreciable amount that, they've always had a hard time doing it. If it was easy, it would already have been done.
Gotcha. Thank you guys very much. We appreciate it. And thank you for watching as well. ABC's This Week begins in just a moment. We will see you next Sunday. Hope you have a good week.